So Dave is back, guys, and where I am, it's like 70 odd degrees. I'm sweltering, but I'm going to do a little intro. I'm going to do an impression of Dave's Aussie accent talking about me while she's creating her 15 Minutes of Fame podcast. The picture she shows, I won't say the next few lines. Dave had a lot to say about my style of dress. My mum agrees with him on that. Oh, Uncle Dave, when are you going to? Maybe by the time that I've released this podcast, you would have released a live stream explaining to your subs. Hello, my wonderful subs, and anyone else who comes to my channel to listen to my podcasts. Now, I just want to say something before I get started. I welcome comments from both sides of the aisle, and me who's in the middle, right on the border between the two sides. I welcome people who have, my opinions as well, and outside opinions. But all I want to say is please try to be respectful to other people when you write your comments. Understand that this is a case and everything surrounding it is something that we're all going to have different opinions on. We can't all have the same opinions because we're different people. We have different backgrounds. Our experiences are different. And, it might be a case where you have a grown son and that might make you more sympathetic towards Chris. It might be that you have two grown daughters and that may make you more sympathetic towards the ours. Our backgrounds, who we are, our own experiences, what we have, what we don't have, all influence our opinion, and we come from different backgrounds. So we come at this from a different angle. I find people who have had challenges with their own mother look at Shanann in a different way, or in a less positive way than somebody who has had a very close relationship with their own mother. So we all look at this from different sides, from different angles, very much based on our own experiences. In my conversations with Bam, and there have been many, I understand why she has her opinions because she's got two grown sons. And when she's told me her opinions and given me her opinions, which are often very different to mine when it comes to the actual case, I understand why she arrived at those opinions because she does have two grown sons. So she's more sympathetic to Chris. And that's totally understandable. So Dave is obviously back. I think a lot of you have been keeping tabs, and a lot of you are wanting to see him, wanting to understand what's going on. I did say that he did set his channel to private. A lot of you wanted it to be that he was taken down, but that's not the case. And I did say that. So Emerald was absolutely right. He simply changed his channel name for now. I don't know if this is going to be permanent. And he's shifting things around, which is basically what he did the last time when he disappeared for a while, which he never really went anywhere. He just put settings to private. So all of you who are taking credit or rejoicing in the fact that the Ruseks might have had something to do with this, no. He just set his channel to private, and some of his videos are actually coming back. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm sure he's seen my videos that I've put out. And in fact, if you actually search him on YouTube, if you put in "Seeking the Truth with Dave," a lot of my videos do come up. So I've had a spike in some of my views for some of the old videos that I've done on him. And that's the way it goes. And I'm sure he's, Dave is watching and listening to what people are saying about him. On my last video, which I will address some of the things that people have said, and I'm going to address a lot of things that Dave has said in some of his streams. Dave will have looked through all those comments, and that's how it goes. He's back. He just put his I wouldn't be surprised if he had come out with a video by the time I published this podcast. So a lot of people are finding his videos through search, and my videos are popping up. So this his little break has been good for me. So and I know a lot of you are missing him, and like I said, the past videos I made on Dave were in the past. I have no desire to have any back and forth with Dave, but I do have the desire to tell my truth and be honest with you about what I think about certain things that he said. And I'm going to say that in this podcast. I'm going to set the record straight on some things in this podcast, things that he said that I disagree with, and I'm allowed to disagree. Did I say 70 degrees? It's actually around 80 something degrees here, and it's just too much. Once it gets to that, it's just too high for me, and I have to have a fan. So you might hear me clicking something on and off, and that's my fan. And there's lots of people outside, so you might hear background noise. I really apologize for that. One of the things that Dave has insinuated or has claimed, God, I might have to close the window because there's just too much background noise. One of the things that Dave has alleged or claimed, or at least one of my subs has told me that he's insinuated, is that Cindy and Ronnie are going to get a big payout, or they deserve a big payout from Weld County, because while their son was held, he wasn't able to speak to them, or they weren't able or allowed to speak to him. That will never happen. They are not going to get any payout from Weld County. Weld County owe Cindy and Ronnie absolutely nothing. They're not going to get a payout from Weld County because they weren't allowed to speak to their Chrissy boy. Because Chris was 34 years old at the time. So he was a grown adult. And that means if he chose not to speak to his parents, or he chose for the lawyers to give him that advice, or if the lawyers instructed him that that was the best thing to do, not to speak to anyone until the hearing, then that's his right, and that's the lawyer's right to work within his best interests. So the Weld County Department owes Cindy and Ronnie nothing. They don't need to give Cindy and Ronnie Chris's phone back. If they want to hold on to that phone till the end of time, till eternity, they can do that. Cindy and Ronnie are not going to get a payout from Weld County. They are not owed anything from Weld County. Weld County, Tammy Lee, Graham Coder, D.A. Rourke, they all did their jobs, and I think they did a fine job. Now, did they do a perfect job? Absolutely not, because no one is perfect. There's no such thing as doing things perfectly. Very few people are perfect. We're all human. But they did what they needed to do to find Chris's family, and that's what they did, and ultimately that's the most important thing. So this insinuation that Dave might have given to Cindy and Ronnie, that they're going to get a huge payout, or they're owed a huge payout from Weld County because Chrissy boy didn't want to speak to them, is not, it's never going to come to fruition. The other thing that I noticed is somebody wrote a comment on my last video about this, saying that Dave makes wonderful tribute videos to Shanann and the girls, which he does. He makes tribute videos to Shanann, and then he says things like, why isn't Chris's first confession believable? We know what Shanann was like. So that's very contradictory. You're making a tribute video to Shanann, but then you imply that she did it because Chris said so. And we know that we can't necessarily take anything that Chris says with anything but a grain of salt. You're making a tribute video to Shanann, and then you say Chris's first confession, or you imply that Chris's first confession is believable. We know what Shanann was like. The two don't go together. You're making a tribute video to Shanann, but then you're implying that she did it. Doesn't go together. What's the other thing? And there's probably more things that I will address that Dave has said over the years. And it probably won't be, I won't be able to fit all of them into this video. But, there's been constant alluding to others' involvement. And I've been told by one of Dave's loyal subs that when the rest are caught, I'm going to look very silly. Well, you can keep waiting for the rest to be caught, the rest of those imaginary people to be caught that are apparently involved. And there are people that come to my channel and who think that other people are involved, and they're allowed to think that. But it's never going to happen. Your wish is never going to happen that these imaginary people are going to get caught, because there's only one person responsible, and the person responsible is sitting in Wisconsin. And it's about time that Cindy and Ronnie realize this, because that's the real start to their healing, is to hold Chrissy Boy responsible for what he did. There's nobody at that Anadarko who did this, who had any need to do it. I will say that if anyone else was involved, it would be NK, but I don't think she had a need to do it either. NK didn't need Chris, and she certainly didn't need to take those steps to get him. She already had him. She's not an unattractive woman. She could have gotten anyone she wanted. So I don't believe that she would take such extreme steps to get her hands on Chris. Like I said, I think he planned the whole thing, and I think he did it in secret. I don't believe that anyone at Anadarko had any reason to do this or participate in this whatsoever. So those are some of the things that I wanted to address in this podcast, because I'm absolutely 100% certain that everything that I'm saying is right and correct and true. That Chris did this, nobody else. And Weld County, a payout? I don't think so. And I think everything that I said in this podcast is true. And if you want to update me or fill me in or put forward your opinion on what I've said, you can go right ahead. But I think everything that I've said is right, and I always try to be true to how I think and how I feel. And, I'm not going to serve you something on a silver platter that I don't think exists. I'm going to tell you what I really think.